All right. So if you remember, Christianity and the church were the ones with the most power. This is primarily because they gave shelter and food and leadership and all that kind of stuff to everyone. And there was no emperor. There was just a bunch of kings. They didn't have a lot of structures. So there you go. They started spreading education through books, through monasteries, through the monks, all that kind of stuff. They spread all over Europe because of that. And it gave people a lot of peace. It gave them community. It gave them a need for something more. And that's where the kings come in. So, the kings were ruling all of these super big, not really big, but a bunch of city-states or small states all over the place, all over Europe. They were not elected. They are chosen by God, they say, and they are born into being a king. Whatever class you're born into, you're born into. These kings love to have power, of course, so they are going to see if they can get more power throughout this time. This is your title. It's the Dark Ages Part 2. It's the Kings. The specific... So the main one we're going to talk about is this guy named Charlemagne. Charlemagne is king of the Franks. They are a group of people in France, northern France. He sees the church, sees what they're doing, sees that they're spreading, seeing how they use education and help everyone, all that kind of stuff. And he uses this to his advantage. He starts to grow his kingdom by killing anyone who wouldn't become Christian and to follow him and join his tribe and his army and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, people did because they don't want to die. And they become Christian. A lot of people become Christian because of him. But they also, the other thing he's kind of big in is to spreading education, building schools, building monasteries, spreading of the word of St. Benedict, who we talked about last time, all that kind of thing. And he does very well. So well that he actually unites 1/3 of the the European continent.
Let's get ready to rumble! Y'all ready for this?
So, Charlemagne obviously wants more power, but guess who's in charge? The church. This is the person in charge, this bald guy, is in charge of the church at the time. His name is Pope Leo III. And they clash because they both are in charge and want to be in charge. So I have my first brain snack question for you.
The zombies are coming.
So this is called Analyze This. I'm going to show you a painting that has Charlemagne in it, and he's being crowned by the Pope. I had you guys write down in the picture who appears to be more powerful or more important, and to include evidence from the painting to support your claim. Here's the painting. You can see Pope Leo and Charlemagne on the ground. And a lot of you gave good answers for this. Pope Leo's wearing gold, it's in a church. Charlemagne's kneeling. Pope Leo's giving the crown to him. So obviously, Pope Leo has more power, right? This is true. The church and Pope Leo gave some powers to Charlemagne, and they could take him away whenever they wanted to. What powers they gave him? Basically, they made him an emperor of a new empire called the Holy Roman Empire. So there's another thing that he's known for is he becomes emperor of a Holy Roman Empire. He spreads education. He makes Europe united. He spreads the church. So a lot of good things for Charlemagne. So, like I said, both want to lead, and by giving Charlemagne, or Charles, it means Charles the Great, the crown, Leo made it seem that Charles had more authority, but he was actually the one that had more authority. So he was trying to make Charles happy so he doesn't come in with his army and take over, pretty much. And that's what happened. So what's his legacy? Well, despite all the disagreements, Charlemagne did end up becoming the first emperor of Europe so years after the fact. And of this new place called the Holy Roman Empire. So there he is walking across. That's not really Charlemagne, it's just a Lego guy. But he's supposed to represent him. So there he is. He goes across the screen. So, other things they did, he built a Christian empire, spread Christianity all over the place, mostly through war, but hey, still spread the religion. He builds schools, encourages education for everybody. He also unites Europe, 1/3 of it, as you'll see in a map in a second. But in the end, he left a divided Holy Roman Empire to his sons. So, the actual place that he had. This is the area that he had. You could see that it's 1/3 of what Europe is. I'll zoom in. You can see he divided it actually into 3, but that's what it looked like. And we did 6-word memorials. I got a lot of good answers. He was a leader, that he united Europe, 1/3 of Europe. He spread Christianity, spread education, all different kinds of stuff.
I have never seen more perfect physical specimens. They are big men with white bodies, tall as palm trees. But they're also the filthiest of God's creatures. They drink alcohol night and day. Everyone carries an axe.
So, everything's going great. Charlemagne is doing well. Pope's doing well. Church is doing great. Then this happens. The Vikings. Picture here is what the Vikings actually looked like. Notice there's no horns on the helmet. We don't have any evidence that they had that. It's just an intimidation factor that somebody came up with. So we'll do our second brain snack.
The zombies are coming.
And this one's called Map Match. We looked up in the textbook on RA 12 and 13. I apologize, I forgot to change it. But there's the map part you had to look for. This is the claw part at the northern part of Europe that we talked about before. So it matches into Europe. It's actually called a region called Scandinavia, which includes Finland, Sweden, and Norway. So, who are the Vikings? They are barbarians from Northern Europe, that red area at the top, that claw that's grabbing the pig or cow, or whatever people came up with. It is very cold up there. Frozen, not a lot of food. They use up all their food. They had to go find more food. So where are they going to go? Well, they first went to England, that little island right next to it. Then they keep going over to Iceland and Greenland. And eventually America. They were the first from Europe to get to America, about 900 or so AD. But the other place they went was south. They went to mainland Europe, France, Germany, Holy Roman Empire, all that stuff, and they did not go peacefully. They did what we call pillaging. Went into villages, took all the stuff, murdered everybody, went away, and that was about what they did all the time. This is not great for Charlemagne because all the unity and all the stuff that he did is now gone. Education's gone. Trading's gone. Unity is gone. Literally, they're back to what they had before with the church in charge and all that kind of stuff. So, Vikings, not so great. We got a bonus level here. So this is a king pictured here named King Henry IV. And he had also a similar type problem with power, just like Charlemagne did with another pope named Pope Gregory. And I'm going to tell you that story. It all starts off after the split of Charlemagne's empire. As you can see here, it's split into three. King Henry eventually becomes king of the East, which is this area. There he is. And the Pope is still in charge of the church at the time. This was Pope Gregory, who was in Rome. That's where they rule. The two men argued over who had the authority to choose some church officials called bishops. And that's what they look like. King Henry said it was him because he is the one in charge of the kingdom. The Pope said, no, it's mine because I'm in charge of the church. Very heated. This is heated because they both wanted power, but they also both want money. You see that when you get the popes, they are supposed to give you a portion of what they make with their money, and that's kind of what they wanted it for. So both men wanted that money and power, and it came to such a heated argument that Henry decided he needed to write a letter. And he wrote a very angry letter, basically demanding the Pope should quit, that he's a false prophet, that he's not fit to be Pope, and he's not going to go to heaven, and all this other kind of stuff. So it was really bad. Needless to say, if you're Pope and you get this letter, you probably don't love it, and are not going to be very happy with King Henry. So, Pope Gregory kicks King Henry out of the church and his rule as king. People, because they are following the church, because the church has everything for them, and they're the law, right? They're still in charge. They basically follow the Pope and don't even acknowledge King Henry anymore. So Henry is so upset that he wants to apologize. He goes all the way to Rome, barefoot, gets there, it's snowing, as you can see in this picture. This is the Pope's house. Begs him for his kingship back. He's really, really sorry. The Pope doesn't even want to see him. He just leaves him outside in the snow. That happened for 3 days of begging. Then the Pope was like, okay, I think I kind of, proved my point and that I'm in charge and not you. And so they came up with a compromise and he became king again and the Pope was in charge and all that. So here's the gist of the story. Pope Gregory questioning King Henry's authority to pick the bishops. King Henry tries to get Pope Gregory removed as Pope. Pope Gregory excommunicated King Henry. King Henry begged for 3 days to be let back into the church so that he would actually have power. And then Pope Gregory let him back after proving that he has the most power. One more brain stack to finish it off.
The zombies are coming.
Alright, so we did a thing called philosophical throwdown. I showed you this question. You went to the sides of the classroom that you thought who you should believe should run the empire. Excuse me. You have the church or the king. I got a lot of good answers about why the king should be in charge, why the church should be in charge. It was very, very good. So make sure you go over that and kind of express what your feelings are. That concludes the church conflict with kings and the kings in general. We're going to move on from there, but that concludes this PowerPoint.